Is there a script or anything? Okay, it is 6:01, and I am calling the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Garza.
Here.
Armstrong.
Present.
Orgish.
Here.
All right, excellent. Our first item is approval of minutes. We are doing the consideration approval of the Kyle Housing Authority August 20th and August 28th regular meeting minutes. It says presenter Debbie Guerra.
I make a motion to accept them.
Perfect.
I second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, number 3, the citizen comment period with the Kyle Housing Authority. The Kyle Housing Authority welcomes comments from citizens early in the agenda of regular meetings. Speakers are provided with an opportunity to speak during this time period on any agenda item or any other matter concerning Housing Authority business, and they must observe the 3-minute time limit. Do we have any citizen comments? Okay, I will be closing the comment period and move on to number 4, staff reports and presentations. All right, so number 4.2, receive a report, hold a discussion, provide general information updates on ongoing projects, administrative matters, financial reports, and other items of interest relevant to the Housing Authority's operations. Whenever you're ready, Ms. Truelove.
Okay. Hello, good evening. Let me turn this guy on. Maybe. All right. How's everyone doing tonight?
Excellent.
Great.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Yes.
Great. So glad to hear it. So this is just our general discussion item. So at our last meeting, we had conversations about this concept of bringing in someone to serve as the housing administrator. That would then work as, finding us a property manager, having the on-site staff. After much discussion and strategizing and arm twisting, HACA has agreed or offered to fulfill the role of the housing administrator and property manager, employing the on-site staff through the end of May of next year. So there is an item on the agenda today that will amend the interlocal that you guys approved at your first meeting to basically, instead of kind of serving in an advisory capacity that we had envisioned, they're just going to serve as the housing administrator. This will allow us to formally transition all of the HUD systems and all of the paperwork to them. They will help ensure that we have everything set up and established, and then in advance of the expiration of this contract, we will work to bring in someone in more of a permanent capacity, but this gives us more structure and still a warm handoff with our friends at the Housing Authority of the City of Austin. So that is an item for action later on in the agenda today. Any questions on that before I go?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So if we follow this structure, is Mr. Corella still in the process with the handoff with HUD?
So approving this will allow us to completely remove MDP from all of the activities.
Okay.
The biggest point of consideration that we had with all of the transition with removing MDP from the role of the executive director and property manager of the Housing Authority was not really on the public housing side. That transition was fairly easy, but on the project-based rental assistance, so on the Pete Dressen side, there's a little bit more activity involved in making that transition and in talking to Fort Worth HUD, which is the branch of the federal government that operates this. They have a proper name, but I call them Fort Worth HUD. They need more advance notice, and they need to pre-approve a new property manager or a new asset manager for that particular property. And so now that we have, after today, we will have the ability to officially start that transition to have that be HACA instead of MDP. And so to process the vouchers and to continue to move things through the system, we did execute that small monthly contract with Mr. Colella and his firm, and this will effectively enable us to terminate that and to shift everything to HACA to get it organized and established.
One more question. Once we terminate that, do we have a clause in there that they get another 30 days? Or is it at the time
It's,
terminated?
so we have, it's basically operating month to month.
Okay.
And so I've asked them to continue to process for the month of September and likely the month of October, because we talked about not being entirely sure that we're going to have everything through on the Pete Dressen side through HUD for basically the beginning of October is when, or the beginning of the month is when we file all the paperwork necessary to receive payments and to process the vouchers. So it may be through that round if we get it done earlier. Oh no, he's doing this.
Oh, yes, that. So we'll know 10/1, I guess.
Okay, pending government shutdowns. Okay.
And how does this, I know you talked a little bit about it, but does this take a lot off of your plate? Okay, great.
Yes.
And then I had heard from someone prior that was interested in how this affects the property manager on site. Talicia, it's her.
Delicia's here.
Will she receive any extra duties from this? Everything
I-
is the same?
I would turn to Mr. Roth to help me out with that, but I wouldn't anticipate any change in that unless he says differently.
No, she currently is an employee of Apartment Management Professionals, AMP, and they will continue operating the property in that capacity. So there really will be no change.
Okay,
there.
this mostly is to make sure we're dotting our i's, crossing our t's with government.
And that we will take on the role of all the communications with HUD through the HUD systems.
Okay,
And that's the big piece that Mr. Colella and his team is still performing for the agency at this point in time that would be handed off to HACA.
okay. And then who would be is there a specific HACA person that will be the point person? Is it you?
It will be for the
Okay.
Pete Dressen and Charles Young properties, it will be
Okay.
me, yes.
Perfect.
He
And
says
then-
that with a lot of joy.
I know, I'm sure you're excited for the commute every day.
This is what I do there, so it's just an extension.
And then what does that look like for Opal Point? Have we gotten any?
So we're going to talk a little bit more
Okay.
about Opal Point when we get into that particular item. So if I can put a pin in that one and come back to that
Absolutely.
one, that would be fantastic.
Okay.
I do
Thank
have
you.
a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So I know this is through May 31st, 2026, but what's the plan for procuring long-term, I guess, services and management once this expires?
So because this is a rather niche kind of service that's performed, I think we could approach it any number of ways that I was exploring before I was able to secure agreement from HACA to help us in this capacity. We could do an RFP or issue a solicitation for this kind of work. We could reach out to a number of people that we know across the land that are people like MDP that perform this kind of service for other entities. I still don't think we're going to be at a point where it's a full-time job, so it will be a piece of somebody's. It would be like taking on another project that one of these companies would or agencies would provide, and then it's just doing that with enough time to get approvals to secure all the transition through with HUD. So honestly, I would expect that we would be starting to have conversations about this in January, realistically. But this just buys us the ability to solidly transition away from MDP and get everything secured and updated in all the federal systems that we know needs to happen before we start introducing a new player into the. And I have talked to HACA. If we needed AMP to continue to serve in some capacity beyond the 31st, if we hire a company, but they need time then to bring on a property manager, then we have some flexibility on that too.
Okay.
Any other questions on this guy?
No, thank you.
You sure? Okay. So just a few things about properties. We've been working through on tenant certifications. Again, MDP has been charged with maintenance of these in the federal systems. Both properties need to have certifications updated. As of when I prepared this for posting last week, these were still pending, but we have been working actively with MDP to resolve that. So we are not out of compliance, but we're not solidly in compliance. Really just need to make sure that we're shoring up the information that's in the federal systems with what we have in our local systems. we have actually now submitted our unaudited financials, which were required to be turned in last week, but they have gone to HUD, so that one has been checked off. But payments and drawdowns have been happening on schedule, so we are continuing to push the paper and push the buttons in the systems through the federal government to receive our monthly draws to keep the properties going.
And does that include the, like utilities, and I think there was something about checks going to residents?
Yeah, so that was a bit of it caught maybe me flat-footed in that respect, because we asked MDP to go ahead and process those payments, but then they realized they don't have authority to sign on the accounts, and so we had to have checks written and then mailed so that I could sign, so that we could give them to, and at that point we were subject to the United States Postal Service. So that wasn't our best moment, but we're better prepared
Okay.
moving forward.
Thank
Can
you.
I ask a question?
Yeah.
And this is regarding the government shutdown, if potentially there is one. Do we know what effect, I'm assuming you've experienced a shutdown before? Could you give us just like an overview of what we should expect?
So what I heard on a call today was that on the public housing side, that they are, which is the normal course of action when there is a potential government shutdown, HUD works to get ahead of the game. So if the shutdown happens on the 1st, that's usually the time when payments go out, is the 1st of the month. So they've been working to preload the financials into what's called ELOCs, the electronic system by which the money is transferred from the public housing side. And they do keep a skeleton crew to kind of push the buttons and make the mechanics go for certain other things on the multifamily side. So having said that, we've also heard from some agencies around us that they're not seeing that yet in their systems when they're logging in, so it's just something we're going to have to pay close attention to over the next couple of days. But that is the normal course of action. They will preload at least a month and sometimes 2 months.
If we do have a shutdown, I know this is all what ifs, do we need to reconvene? Like, would you recommend the housing authority to convene, or just wait the natural course?
I think we need to wait, because there's really, I don't have any sense of these. Some of these will last 24 hours,
Yeah.
48 hours, some of them will last a month, and it's hard to answer that. So, and especially with rules and regulations about posting notices in public meetings, it gets a little bit challenged to do things on the spot. So normal course of action, I think, is that, the housing authority through the executive director is just authorized to make decisions as necessary to get us through that until the next opportunity for the board to meet.
But is there an expectation that they take any action to authorize me to do that, or is that just part of the course of business?
I think normally it would be considered part of the course of business unless there's something out of the ordinary that you're anticipating you might need to do.
Which I'm not.
Thank you.
Okay. Couple of pending items that we've been talking about. Bylaw updates. I have been holding on that until we get the housing administrator on board. That will also include drafting our procurement policy, capital improvement plan. We need to review and update all of the property regulations, just because I feel like they're, for the purpose of Charles Young, we need an admissions and continued occupancy policy. They've been operating under the regulations for Pete Dressen, and that is not appropriate for the program that they are. So that'll be one of our top priorities. Pete Dressen has the necessary policies in place, but we should review them for QC purposes, just because they haven't been looked at in a while. From a fiscal perspective, Haka and I have been reviewing accounts and backup. I anticipate bringing a full fiscal update and budget approval to the October meeting, although we do need to talk about the schedule of the October meeting, because I think we may have a conflict with one of the commissioners, but we have an item for that later, so that we can get some clarity and insight into that for you guys. The Franconia paperwork based on our last meeting, has been returned to that team with results pending. They anticipated settlement towards the end of December. So that would be positive for us when that settlement does come through, and I will keep you apprised of that. But there is no further action necessary from you guys for us to accept those funds or to finalize anything along the lines of that settlement, because you've already given me that authority at the last meeting. You all received a training registration email for some of the trainings that we've been talking about from Jackie Taboada. If I did not butcher her name, sorry, Jackie. We need to talk about our meeting calendar, which we have for an action item for later today. I did want to make sure that you guys were aware of a little bit of a reorganization that happened within the city of Kyle. City manager has moved me from my role of Director of Administrative Services to a role of Executive Director over Strategic Development. So this is now kind of permanently part of my portfolio, the work with the Housing Authority. So even as we move on through time and space, you will not get rid of me. So
Great.
that is happening. What other questions do you guys have?
Is there an expected completion date for our training?
I would say if you guys can get it done in the next month, that would be great. I think it's 3 courses, and I think, if I recall, they're each about an hour. So it should be, and it's all on demand, so you should be able to register for them. If you have any issues accessing the links or anything along those lines, then just send me an email or reach out to Jackie, and we'll get that resolved.
So beyond the general overview, are there any proposed amendments to the board, I guess the bylaws or changes?
I think they're thin in some areas.
Okay.
At the last meeting, I shared a couple of examples where it has just a little bit more structure and a little bit more clarity that I think would be beneficial. And so that's what I'll be using I think I pulled up the bylaws for the Housing Authority of City of Austin and maybe San Marcos and the Housing Authority of the Travis County as some potential examples. They're all slightly different variations on a theme, and so I'll be working to pull those together to give us a little bit more concreteness and a little bit more structure for y'all's benefit more than anything. And we do still have 2 vacancies on the board. One is another mayoral appointment, and so I plan to have a conversation with whoever is successful with the mayoral election that we have in November, or through a runoff whenever that particular member is seated and sworn in. And then we have the 5th position is for a member of the resident council, which does not exist. So we'll be working to establish. Anything else on this guy?
I think it's a good plan to wait for the next mayor to appoint, just to show
Yeah,
transparency and,
for
Good
sure.
faith.
good faith, yeah.
And you guys were all appointed at the same time. Your appointments are, I believe, 2-year appointments. Do I have that right, Debbie? Do you remember?
I think mine's 1.
Who said that? You did? Okay, so we'll be looking at reappointing you at the appropriate time. But there's, because you were appointed, because you're mayoral appointments, you serve at the term that you signed on for, if that makes sense. And then when it comes to reappointment, then we have that. But it's not that kind of situation where we can come in and have everybody be removed. The reason why we were able to, or we had the changeover we had in July, was because every single person on the old board was a holdover appointment. So you guys aren't holdovers. So the next item on the agenda is the space that we said we would have in case we have an open posting for you guys if you have any questions about your role as a housing commissioner or anything along those lines. I feel like we're kind of getting in a little bit of a groove. Happy to pull that item up just to have it in front of us, but really it's just an open forum, and this may be the last time we post it in that kind of way, because I feel like we're getting a little bit of time under our belts, and so it's less of a point of concern. But do you guys have any questions about roles, responsibilities, what you might need to do, any questions that you might have about the function of the Housing Authority Commission or anything along those lines?
Have we been able to have any sort of discussion about visiting the properties?
We can schedule that at any point.
Please.
If there's going to be all of you together, we will have to post it as a meeting.
Okay.
If you want to just handle it as, hey, Rosie, let's go look on this day, then we can just do that.
Okay.
It's really for you guys to make a determination. If you want to try to look at calendars and set some time to go drive around and look at them, then we would have to post that, and I'm happy to work on making that happen. Or if you want to pick a Tuesday and then somebody else picks a Wednesday and somebody else picks a Thursday, then we can do that too.
Whatever's easiest for the Delicia. And the other property manager would be fine. Is there another property manager? Or you do both? Okay,
Yeah.
great. Well, whatever is, yes.
I
Whatever's
think really it's
easiest.
up to you guys on whether you think there would be benefit to seeing them together or to having that be something that we just handle independently.
Okay. Do we have to discuss it on record?
No,
Okay, I wasn't sure if that's like,
you can just let me
Crossing
know what your
into
thoughts
legal
are.
issues.
Just send me an email.
Okay.
What we can't do is have you all email together.
okay,
So just send me an email individually, and if the general prevailing wisdom is that you think you'd like to have it try to be a group, then we'll work on getting that scheduled. Okay?
okay. Are there any sort of like conferences or workshops or anything that would be expected to attend or recommended to attend? I think there was one just recently, if I'm not mistaken.
I feel like wasn't NARO maybe would be an agency that we would look to.
National Narrow's happening next week, but
There we go.
Texas Narrow would be probably the next more appropriate opportunity. Not sure when it's going to be.
Yeah, we can look at that and we can
Okay.
share some information. But we are not, at this point, a member of NARO, but that's something that I think we're accessing a lot of their training through our partnership with the Housing Authority for the City of Austin. So if we see that there is value in that, then we can look at an agency membership at that point.
Okay.
One question I have in terms of responsibilities is I'll have ideas like popping to mind that I don't know if it's appropriate to discuss here or to send an email. Okay, send an email.
Yeah, just send me an email.
Okay.
I mean, there are things that will naturally come as topics to discuss. One of them being when we get to the point where we're starting to get feedback on the housing study. We had Housing Works here 2 months ago, and we're going to get to a point with that body of work where they're going to want to come and have some good dialogue with you and get some feedback on some points. So that will happen probably not until November, December, and it may even be into January because, again, since we have such a turnover coming with our city council, we're going to slightly pump the brakes on that so we can get the perspective of the new council into what we make or what the outcomes we have associated with that.
And does that study determine the need for affordable housing in Kyle? Because that's kind of what I struggle with, is like, I don't think we actually know, we know there is a need, but what is that need to actually solution?
That is part of what we're looking at. So part of it is with Housing Works is to get a good understanding of what our housing stock looks like right now, what our population looks like right now, how that population compares with, say, Austin Metropolitan Statistical Area, which is technically what we're part of, and how that influences our affordability levels and when people want to come and do income restricted housing here under more state and federal programs. But then it will also help to give us some perspective on some different policy initiatives that staff would actually come forward with, a housing strategy for how that we would want council to take action on that would allow us to, create some of those those guiding policies that would point us and direct the work that we're doing through housing and development.
Okay, perfect.
So that kind of stuff will come up. I think I would encourage any of you, if you have ideas or thoughts or hey, what about, you can always email me and we can have conversations. I'm here, I am your employee in that respect. You just have to be mindful from an open meetings perspective that you don't include your fellow commissioners on those emails.
I know we had talked about it a little bit before with trying to get Dresden and Young on the same program. Is that something that we're going to continue looking into?
So that, again, we have what the chair is talking about is Young is public housing. I think there is some interest from the federal government for us to consider converting that to something more along the lines of project-based rental assistance, which is what Dresden is. We had a conversation with HUD scheduled, and our HUD rep could not make that particular conversation, and it is actually pending rescheduling to hear the pitch, so to speak, so that we can make an educated decision. What I like about the idea of bringing HACA in to help us through the end of May is it isn't going to force us to make any decisions about that kind of stuff before we're ready to make decisions. So we're going to be able to take our time and really hear it and weigh our decisions and where we go. There is some benefit to being public housing. So we don't want to just jump into something because it's easy and then it will simplify life, right?
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Are we moving on to number 4?
Yes. Let's move on to number 4.
Okay, which is receive a report, hold a discussion, and provide staff feedback on an overview of the Opal Point property. Which they're going to pull up. And it's going to be the updated one. Okay, yay. All right, so I apologize for not having more detail in the backup when it was originally posted, but that is a fact, that it was not available because I had not written it yet. The Opal Point property is located at 41 Opal Lane in Kyle. It's the little orange dot on the map, just south of where we're at now. There are 338 units on this property. 68 are affordable at 60% of the area median income. 102 are affordable at 80% of the area median income. And the balance of the units are available for market-based rent. This property, or the affordability, was established under Chapter 392 of the Texas Government Code, which governs housing authorities. We have determined that it is, it's a valid way of establishing this. We created a separate limited liability corporation to administer the property, but the governing piece is there in yellow. 50% of the units in the multifamily residential development are reserved for occupancy by individuals and families earning less than 80% of the area median income adjusted for family size. Keeping in mind, we're talking about the federal or the state, the HUD mandated area median income, which again, we're considered part of the Austin MSA. So 60 and 80% of Austin, not quite as meaningful as what we would want. And if we were looking at establishing a new development in the future, we would probably push to have those be a little bit lower. But at this point, this is where we're at. So the MOU was established in July of this year. Kyle Housing Authority is the managing member. We received $459,000 at close. That has been funding that has been received. The way the property or the deal is structured is we will receive an annual lease payment, and this is under a full property tax exemption. We will receive an annual lease payment of 25% of the property tax exemption. So if the property tax exemption is valued at $1 million, we would receive a lease payment for that year of $250,000, okay? If you look at the year one exemption, our anticipated tax savings is approximately $955,000, and so that's going to equate to a payment of $238,777. I have confirmed we should actually receive this in December for year 1. Then for year 2, which will be 2026, the way the development agreement or the deal is structured is we receive that in January of the given year. So we will receive the $238,000 in December, and then we should receive a comparable amount, probably slightly more, in January for the calendar year of 2026. Make sense? And then moving forward, it would be in January of the coming year. There's also in the deal a compliance fee of $100 a unit. So $100 a unit for 338 units of $33,800. That is paid to us, but we have a contract with Darren Smith of Oxano, who is performing the compliance function. Okay, so they do the compliance reporting and verification, and all of that is transmitted to us. I have not received a report on that yet, the first quarterly, and talking to our partner on this with Stryker Properties. I should be receiving that first quarterly report sometime in the next month based on the conversation we had this week.
Could you repeat his name really quick?
Which one? The partner?
Yeah.
It's on the next slide. It's
okay.
Stryker Properties.
Okay, thanks.
The last component of this is if the property is sold, we, the Housing Authority, are entitled to 1.5% of the gross sales price. So if at some point in the future they do sell the property, we have a stake in that would be payable to Kyle Housing Authority. So Stryker Properties is our property manager. We met with him yesterday, 2 days ago, whenever that was. They're very excited about this development. This is one of their first early forays into affordable housing. They're very genuine. We're setting up a tour to go out and visit with the property. The property manager that they have is Sunridge. Sunridge is responsible for doing all of the income qualification based on affordability guidelines that I'll talk about a little bit on the next slide. They do have checklists that they use for those income qualifications. So at initial evaluation, they're doing all of the things that we would want them to be doing, which is good. And then Oxano Development is the last partner in the deal that are charged with the compliance monitoring and reporting. So quarterly reports, making sure that the income qualification files are clean and conform to our standards, and that we are having compliance with the requirements of the development agreement, or the got development agreements on the brain, Melissa, of the deal. So the affordability for Opal Point is based on data for, they say Hays County, but really upon further examination, it's the Austin metropolitan statistical area. So the income qualification levels are what you see on the screen, adjusted for household size, for the 60% units and the 80% units. We have 5 vacancies at the 60% AMI rate, and we have 13 vacancies at the 80% AMI rate, and they are full at market. So there's opportunities here for us. So as I was chatting with our friends, our new friends, I asked what we're doing to market these affordable opportunities. They are calling this essential housing at Opal Point because it's not LIHTC. They're choosing to call it essential instead of affordable. That's their choice. This is their material that they've provided. When they have walk-ins, they have lots of discussions associated with the flyer that you see on the screen. They have been doing outreach to major employers. They've been talking to Tesla, HEB, Ascension, Hays Consolidated. They've really found the most successful way of getting folks who are interested in their affordable units is word of mouth and from referrals from other properties that Sunridge is managing in the area. So that's helpful. That's good. I think there's room for improvement on this. I will say that since we had our conversation with them yesterday, Mr. Roth has gone and looked at their rent rolls and done some comparisons to see, based on what you can charge technically for rent for these affordable units, and what they are charging in, from a very, like, he's gone through about a quarter of the affordable units, and everybody's well within, and there are some that they're even charging significantly less than what they could charge for affordable units. So it's good. Everything seems to be, coming together, and we're seeing some good outcomes there. We may actually truly have some affordable housing here, because the rents that they're charging are well under what would be considered available.
Do you have the monthly, are we gonna see the monthly rates here?
I didn't put that on the slide, but I can read them because he has them written on a piece of paper that he's unfolding. So for 60% for an efficiency, one person, or is that, yes. So I'm gonna read, efficiency for 60% is $1,405. Max rents, right, that they could charge. One bedroom for 1.5 people is $1,505. 2 bedrooms, 3 people, $1,806. 3 bedrooms, $2,087. 4 bedrooms, $2,328. And 5 bedrooms, $2,568. I'm not saying that they have, I don't have the breakdown of the property to tell you how many, what the unit sizes are for these at this point, but we'll get that. For 80% in efficiency is 1,874. 1 bedroom, 2,007. 2 bedrooms, 2,408. 3 bedrooms, 2,783. 4 bedrooms, 3,104. 5 bedrooms, 3,425. And then you look at fair market rent, and that's 1,549 for an efficiency, 1,650 for a 1 bedroom, 1,949 for a 2 bedroom, 2,484 for a 3 bedroom, and 2,882 for a 4 bedroom. So we're within what they should be charged. And when we look at those rents that are on the rent rolls, they're all under what we would expect to see. So that's good. But again, I'd like to see that at full occupancy. And so we'll be working with them to better understand how they're conducting their outreach and what we can do to help assist with that.
Can I ask a question how this works? So if they're getting a property tax reduction of roughly 700,000, are they just taking that money off of the monthly rent and then it's a wash? Like, I've been trying to do the math in my head of how does this work?
I don't know that you can do a strict math on that to have it make sense, but generally speaking, the idea of an affordable housing development being lifted off the tax rolls is that savings that they receive, or the deferral of not having, or the fact that they're not paying property taxes on that, should allow them to be able to operate the property by accepting lower rents. So that is the logic behind it. It's not going to be a one-to-one, dollar-to-dollar. That's why these properties are so attractive, and why we had so many people that were interested in having this kind of a deal structure.
Is there any sort of ethical issues if we were to like personally share information about this, like on social media or something like that, or should we not even touch that?
I don't think there's any concerns, but what I would say is let us get the right kind of information to share.
Okay.
And I think it would be something along the lines of this flyer that we see, but not a picture of something on somebody's table. Because that's what I got, is a picture of the flyer off of somebody's table. So we'll get there.
Yes.
But I mean, I would like to see us, we have people that are reaching out to us for getting on wait lists and wanting to have access to the Housing Authority properties proper, that may not be able to qualify for the Opal Point properties based on their income levels, but that's also, a path we could put you on our wait list, but then we would also encourage you to come over and look at this property, because maybe it would fit, maybe not, I don't know.
Okay.
I guess one more question. So, do we know like the demographics of the people qualifying for it? Because kind of what I'm thinking is if Texas State's right there, do we have students in there, or do we have like?
We don't have that yet. Yeah, but there's typically for LIHTC, low-income housing tax credits, there is a restriction that you're not able to have students housed in LIHTC. You cannot have an entire household of students. But because this is not LIHTC, this is a different kind of structure, then that kind of restriction wouldn't be in there. But they did not say that they had a lot of Texas State students. I asked them specifically where they were seeing, some action on getting affordable units, and that's where they gave me Tesla, HEB Ascension, and Hayes Consolidated.
Okay, thanks.
So there's much more to be done here with Opal Point. We want to get our arms around those compliance monitoring reports. We should be, like I said, we should be getting one soon, and I will share that with you guys in the future as we get them as part of our meetings. We want to get some QC reviews done around their income qualification process. We have talked to them about, kind of at the surface about what they're doing, and what they have said is appropriate and is what we would expect, but we want to dig a little deeper and make sure that we're putting our residents through the paces that need to be done, and that we're maintaining the information that we need to be maintaining. Those fees that we talked about, the 260, whatever, where did it go? 240,000 in year one, and probably 250 or 260,000 in year two. We want to make sure that those fees are being properly escrowed so that we'll receive them. Again, we have assurances that they are from, verbally from our partner at Stryker, but they have also now provided us copies of their documents, and so we're going to be digging through those. And then reviewing the marketing and their efforts there to ensure that our affordable units are being filled. At first blush and in first review of this particular property, I think it's very positive, and that they're really trying to adhere to what we would want them to be adhering to. So I feel good about it. I wish the affordability levels were lower.
That's what I was thinking.
But-
I haven't rented an apartment in a minute, but I was renting one in Austin about 5 years ago for 2 bedrooms, and it was the 60 for, it was 1,800. So that's interesting that.
Well, the other thing to keep in mind, this is a really unique property in that it is brand new. Okay, and so a lot of rents that you will see, you can go to Austin and you can find much older apartment stock. And we're in a little bit of an interesting point in the market where, and again, we're seeing this in Austin and to a certain extent in Kyle, where there was so many apartments being built that we kind of had a flood, and a lot of the rents dropped associated with that. Which is kind of what you would expect, a little supply and demand, and we're starting to see things maybe stabilize a little bit. But this wasn't an acquisition and rehab. This was a brand new apartment. And so I also, because I'm curious about such things, asked them if for their affordable units, are they, when you have a development that has both affordable units and market units, a lot of times they'll float around, right? I'll have an affordable person in unit 101, and then they'll leave, and the next person doesn't need unit 101. They would prefer a floor plan like unit 103, and so I'll move that affordable slot to unit 103, right? So as long as we're maintaining the affordability levels within the complex, we're good. And sometimes you'll see deals like this where there's even requirements for number of bedrooms and affordability levels. And so, but you'll see them move around. This particular development has opted to say unit 101 is an affordable unit, unit 205 is an affordable unit, and that will maintain that because they want for the clarity of knowing exactly which units are occupied, and that's a fair way to do it. But I did get assurance. Sometimes when that happens, maybe the finish out is not so great in the affordable units, or they'll use, substandard flooring, or lower grade carpet, or maybe not stainless appliances, or whatever. But I did get assurance that all of the units are finished at the same level, so that's good.
Do we have any sort of, for the entire city of Kyle, like an average apartment rent? Like
That's part of what Housing Works is working on.
Okay,
As for the housing study.
Okay, thanks.
Which I would hope to see it drop significantly compared to what you're comparing it with Austin.
It'll be interesting to see how it compares. We know that our income levels are lower here, but I don't know that there's necessarily a significant drop in the rents. But that is part of what Housing Works is preparing for us. Other questions on Opal Point? Okay. Turning the page. Item number 5.
All right, number 5. Consider approval of a revised interlocal agreement with the Housing Authority of the City of Austin to provide property management and administrative services for the Housing Authority of the City of Kyle.
Okay, so I gave you a little preview of this. Just to remind everyone, in July of 2025, Kyle Housing Authority Commission approved an interlocal with HACA to provide an independent assessment of the properties and management of the authority. This interlocal was actually never executed due to ongoing discussions about options for how we were going to move forward. So rather than execute something and then execute a new thing, we just opted to bring a revised interlocal to you today. So through July and August, HACA has been assisting us with property management and providing an overall assessment of the organization. We've talked about a number of the things that we're working on tonight. Where we're here today in August we talked about bringing in a housing administrator to report up through me as the interim executive director, and HACA has agreed to fulfill this role through the end of May of 2026. So Kyle Housing Authority will reimburse HACA for all reasonable and necessary expenses incurred in providing services. These are the billables, utilities, pest service, landscape services for each property. We will pay them a flat monthly management fee of $2,500 for the properties. And then any additional fees for special services will be mutually agreed upon and paid either through authorization from you guys or just in the course of how we're doing things. We have some contracts that are ongoing, like the work that's happening out of Pete Dressen. So we'll be working through, but fundamentally, the day-to-day activities will be handled by HACA. We will pay them for those through our accounts, either for Pete Dressen or for Charles Young, and then they'll receive a flat management fee, which is not dissimilar to what we had under the previous company. So the item for consideration for you today is to approve the revised interlocal, or to modify or to deny, which I wouldn't recommend. Please staff recommends approval.
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the estimate total monthly cost, including the reimbursements, based on the recent operational data?
Do you know off the top of your head? You've probably looked at it.
As you understand, I'm sure it won't be a surprise. It's not a steady flat rate every month. But just looking at the annual budgets that were prepared for both properties, when you combine the two, the annual budget is about $500,000. So you're looking at roughly $40,000 per month, give or take on a given month, how it would play out.
And we have on the Pete Dressen side, we have our payments that come through the federal system, and that's about $35,000-ish, if I'm remembering correctly. And then on the public housing side, it's about $10,000 that we get, ish. So that's part of what will lay out all the details for you for what we anticipate and what the budgets look like at the October meeting. I will say that because of how the previous property manager, executive director was structured, how that deal was structured, there wasn't a budget that was approved by the board, so we're having to create something that would be reasonable for you guys to have and for us to hold ourselves accountable to. That was just handled kind of below the surface than what was approved by the board, from what we could tell.
Okay. All right. So I will put this forward. Do I see a motion to?
I motion to approve the revised interlocal agreement.
Great.
My second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, so the last item we have is to really talk about the calendar. We want to formally approve the calendar that we have circulated with you guys. It is important because we need all of you here at every single meeting because we know that we cannot meet. You are our quorum, and so if one of you can't make it, then we have to either reschedule or cancel the meeting. So we're here today on the 24th, and I've laid out the dates. Thank you to Debbie for helping us to kind of balance the general timeframes that we had talked about doing and room availability and staff availability and a whole bunch of holidays for the last 2 months of the year. So we're looking at October 29th, November 19th, and December 17th through the end of 2025. And then the rest of them look like they're more routine as the third or fourth Wednesday of the month, fourth Wednesday of the month. So we would be looking for you guys to make a motion to approve this calendar. And if you have any exceptions, if you know there's a meeting date that you won't be able to make from here, we can make note of it and either talk about a potential revised date or just note that we would cancel that meeting. We just need to have some dialogue about that.
Can we Zoom?
No, because we have to have a quorum present in the room. Once we have our other two meeting members, we have to have a quorum present in the room, and then others could join remotely, but we do need folks present in the room.
Does it matter that there's a typo on this?
Oh, that's me. What did I misspell?
August 26, 2026.
Oh, well, we're really thinking far.
Way
We're
far in the
thinking far in
future.
advance.
I
That's
love
all.
that. Good initiative.
That is all me and my quick fingers, or not so quick fingers, as the case may be.
Just want to make sure that
And I
we're
think,
covering our
we're fine.
bases.
October 18th is a Sunday.
Did I write all of those wrong, Debbie?
I-
You can tell me if I did.
I don't think so.
I don't have the hard copy. I put it on my wall in my office. Hold on, let me look at the calendar.
No, I think you got pretty much all of them. It's October. I think that was on a Sunday.
So that probably should be October 28th. Yeah, that's just another. Yeah, it's 28th, October 28th, and August of 2026, not 2206.
Okay.
Quality. It's quality work right up on that screen right now. I'm mortified.
So for September 23rd, it's somebody's birthday, so
That's perfectly fine.
Would need to move that, and then I have to get an infusion twice a year, and that lands around the 28th and January 28th and July 22nd. Usually I feel fine.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, I should be good pending,
And
it should be a week before that, so we'll be able to give you a heads up. If
yeah,
something-
we can always, so for any of these dates, even off into 2020, 2206, we can adjust them as we go. This would just be for planning purposes. We would hold these dates on this room's calendar, so we have it. We would put a placeholder on all of y'all's calendars, so we would be working towards this. If at any point we need to move them, we totally can. We just need to know. And keep in mind our posting requirements are 3 full business days before the day of the meeting. And so if this meeting is on a Wednesday, that means that we can't post on Tuesday, we can't post on Monday, we can't post on Friday, we have to post the Thursday before, right? Did I get that right, Amy? I had to ask her about that earlier today. So we can always push meetings out. We can't, generally speaking, pull them closer without some advance notes.
So the only one I would request to move is the September 23rd.
Okay.
Yeah, and mine would be, I'm not even gonna be in town October 29th, November 19th, or November 18th of next year. All the other days work for me.
Okay. October's this year though, right? October 19th
This-
and October 29th and November 19th of this year. So we need to look at calendars for a potential different day. I think we could probably get away with canceling one of those without having, issues, but I would not recommend that we look at canceling both of them. So I'm happy to look at pulling maybe the November 19th meeting a week closer and then canceling the October meeting, since there's already not a lot of time between those meetings. Would you guys be agreeable to that? Debbie, do you have a magical calendar in front of you that you can tell me what a date would be? November 12th? There's no planning commission or weird other commission that would conflict all of us? Let me look at the Granicus. She's looking at the Granicus. It's the agenda system.
Thanks.
Consult the calendar.
It sounded very formal.
I guess I could pull, I have my computer here. I could.
Yeah, I think the 12th would work in the Granicus.
Okay. So consider canceling the October 29th meeting and moving November 19th to November 12th.
Perfect. Yeah, that actually works better for me.
Okay.
Okay, and then could I propose we leave the rest of them to be dealt with as we get closer? I mean, we can talk about moving the September 23rd one now, but it may not be an issue if we have another member.
Yes, or then we have more conflicts, and then that causes more issues. But yeah, I think probably as we get closer,
Yeah.
adjust it.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we need to make it an official?
Yes, you need to make a motion, please.
Okay. I make a motion that we approve the regular meeting calendar with the cancellation of October 29th meeting, moving the November 19th meeting to November 12th, and October 18th to the October 28th of 2026.
Okay, and noting my typo of
And
2206.
your typo has been noted.
Thank you. Can we put a spotlight on it? I could highlight it in yellow. It would make me very
Well
happy.
done, Rosie.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the affirmation.
And we'll go ahead and send calendar invitations for these.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So I have so moved.
I motion to approve this
You second.
calendar.
You have to
Or a
second.
second, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries.
Okay, beautiful. All right,
That's our last thing, yes?
that completes our business and
Okay, wonderful. Well, with that done, we will adjourn the meeting at 6:59.